My brother threw a fake birthday party the night before my wedding to ruin it. My parents supported him and didn't come. But when only 3 people showed up to his party and everyone chose my wedding, the revenge I took left them speechless. I'm 31 years old. I work in software sales, and what happened a few months ago with my wedding basically destroyed whatever relationship I had with my parents and my brother Tyler. And honestly, looking back, I think I should have seen it coming for years. But I guess you always want to believe that your family is going to be there for you when it matters, you know? But anyway, let me start from the beginning because this story is long and complicated, and I need to get it off my chest. Tyler and I were never super close, even when we were kids. He's 3 years younger than me. He's 28 now, and he was always like the golden child to my parents. I don't know exactly when that dynamic started. Maybe it was always there, but it became more obvious when we hit our teenage years. I was the older son, the responsible one, the one who got good grades and got a job since I was 16, while Tyler was more of the artistic or creative type, let's say. He works as a freelancer, doing graphic design, or something like that. I've never been totally sure what he does exactly because it changes every 6 months. My parents always justified his behavior with that whole thing about how he needs to find his path, that he's more sensitive, that kind of stuff. I just had to figure things out on my own because I was the strong one, I guess. Things between Tyler and me got really tense. Like 5 years ago, when he started becoming increasingly toxic and petty. And that's the only word I can use to describe it. If I got a promotion at work, suddenly he had some huge project to talk about at family dinner. If I bought a new car, he'd show up with a rental to show off. It was exhausting, honestly, and eventually I just stopped trying to have a relationship with him. My parents always told me I was exaggerating, that Tyler was just competitive, that I should be the older brother and be more understanding. Whatever. 2 years ago, I met Olivia at a work conference. We fell in love pretty quickly, and after a year and a half, we decided to get married. I was excited, you know? It was the first time in a long time that I felt like something in my life was completely mine. Something Tyler couldn't ruin or make about him. Olivia is amazing. She supports me in everything. And from the beginning, she was super clear that she wasn't going to tolerate any unnecessary family drama. I told her everything about my relationship with Tyler, and she basically said, "Well, he's your brother, but he doesn't have to be part of our life if you don't want him to be." We started planning the wedding in January of this year to have it in June. We booked a beautiful hotel like 8 hours away from where my parents and Tyler live because we wanted something remote, peaceful, kind of a weekend destination for all the guests. We sent out the invitations 3 months in advance, so in March, and everything was going perfectly. My extended family was excited. My cousins confirmed they were coming. My aunts, and uncles too. Basically everyone except Tyler, who didn't even respond to the RSVP. Honestly, I didn't care that much. I kind of expected he wouldn't come or that he'd cause some problem. What I didn't expect was what happened 2 weeks before the wedding. 2 weeks. Can you believe it? Tyler sent out invitations for a last-minute birthday party. His 28th birthday, scheduled for the night before my wedding. The night before. His birthday wasn't even on that date. His actual birthday is in August, like 2 months later, but he decided to have an early celebration on that specific weekend. And when I say invitations, they weren't casual Facebook invitations, they were printed physical invitations that he mailed to the whole family, including my parents, my aunts and uncles, my cousins, basically the entire guest list from my wedding. I called my parents as soon as I found out because one of my cousins sent me a photo of the invitation asking what was up. My mom answered, and I was so angry that I basically exploded on the phone. I said, "Mom, are you seriously going to allow this? Tyler is literally throwing a party the night before my wedding to ruin it." And she got all defensive, saying that Tyler had the right to celebrate his birthday whenever he wanted, that I was being selfish for thinking everything had to revolve around my wedding. That family is family, and we should all be able to celebrate together. I explained, as calmly as I could at that moment, that his birthday wasn't even close to that date, that it was obviously a calculated move to cause drama, and that if they really cared about me, they would come to my wedding instead of a fake birthday party. My dad got into the conversation at that point and basically told me I was making a big deal out of nothing, that they could go to both events if they wanted to. That Tyler's party was in the city where they live, and my wedding was 8 hours away, so it was more complicated logistically. I reminded them that we had literally reserved a room for them at the hotel 3 months before, that everything was paid for, that they just had to get in the car and drive. The conversation ended with my mom crying and my dad telling me he was disappointed in my attitude, that I should support my brother instead of competing with him. Competing with him. As if I had started this. I hung up the phone, feeling literally sick to my stomach. Olivia was there with me, and when I told her what my parents said, she just hugged me and said, "If they don't come, they don't come. We'll still have a beautiful wedding with the people who really love us." Like 5 days went by without hearing anything from my parents. They didn't call, didn't text, nothing. Finally, a week before the wedding, my mom sent me a text saying they had decided to go to Tyler's party because they felt he needed them more, and that I had Olivia and my whole life ahead of me, but Tyler was going through a difficult time and needed family, support. A difficult time. The guy is 28 years old, lives in my parents' basement because he doesn't want to pay rent, and works maybe 20 hours a week, but he's going through a difficult time. I didn't respond to them. Honestly, I didn't know what to say that wouldn't make things worse, so I just left the message on read and continued with the wedding preparations. Olivia was furious. More furious than me, I think, but she was also practical. She said, "We have to focus on our day and not let this ruin it." And she was right. The wedding day came, and it was beautiful. Honestly, the weather was perfect, the hotel was amazing, and everyone who mattered to us was there. All my cousins came, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents on my mom's side who are already elderly but made the effort. Friends from work, friends from college, basically everyone except my parents and Tyler. My parents' chair at the ceremony was empty, and I'm not going to lie, it hurt to see it. It hurt a lot. But Olivia, I looked beautiful walking down the aisle, and when we said our vows, I felt like everything else didn't matter as much. During the reception, my cousins told me that Tyler's party had been a total disaster. Like, he had rented a small event hall expecting a lot of people to come, but literally only my parents and like 3 of his friends showed up. Everyone else from the family had chosen to come to my wedding, which obviously because who goes to a fake birthday party instead of a wedding? Tyler apparently went crazy when he saw that almost no one came, started sending furious messages to everyone asking why they had abandoned him, and the party ended like at 9 at night because there was nothing to do. Just as we were cutting the cake, my dad called me. I didn't answer, obviously. I was at my reception, but he left me a voicemail that I listened to later. He basically blamed me for turning the whole family against Tyler, saying I had manipulated everyone so they wouldn't go to his party, that it was my fault Tyler was devastated, and that I should be ashamed of myself. My mom also left a message crying, saying I had ruined our family and that she would never forgive me for doing this to my brother. When Olivia and I got to our room that night after the reception, I sat on the bed and finally let everything out. I cried like I hadn't cried in years. Not just about the wedding, but about years of feeling like second best, of justifying toxic behaviors, of trying to earn the love and approval of my parents, only to have them choose Tyler over and over again. Olivia just held me and let me get it all out, and eventually I fell asleep, feeling emotionally exhausted but also kind of liberated somehow. The next day, before going on our honeymoon, I decided to do something I probably should have done years before. I wrote a long email, like 3 pages, to all my extended family explaining the whole situation. Not just the wedding thing, but years of Tyler's behavior, years of my parents justifying it and minimizing my accomplishments, all the times I had tried to keep the peace only to be ignored or blamed. I put everything there, with specific examples, dates, conversations. I sent it to like 20 people, including my aunts and uncles, cousins, grandparents, basically everyone except my parents and Tyler. The responses started coming in while we were at the airport. My cousins supported me completely. Several said they had noticed the favoritism but didn't want to get involved. Others shared their own experiences with Tyler's behavior at family gatherings. My uncle on my mom's side called me directly and told me that he and his wife had decided to cut off contact with my parents until they could acknowledge what they had done. Other relatives followed, one by one. Basically, all my extended family decided enough was enough, and cut communication with my parents and Tyler. Olivia and I decided to postpone the honeymoon because honestly, I wasn't in the right headspace to enjoy it, so we just went home and tried to process everything. During the next 2 weeks, my parents and Tyler started a campaign of furious emails accusing me of having isolated them from the family, saying I had lied about them, that I was destroying the family out of spite. Tyler sent me like 15 messages in a single day saying I ruined his life, that because of me nobody respects him, that everything had always been about me. The irony was almost comical. What really made me angry were the emails they started sending to other family members with completely false accusations about me. They said I had abused Tyler when we were kids, that I had stolen money from my parents, that Olivia was manipulating me against my family. They were complete lies, crazy made-up stuff to make me look bad. And when some of my cousins sent me screenshots of those emails, I felt my blood boil. Eventually, my parents organized a conference call. I think it was like 3 weeks. After the wedding, where it was them, Tyler, Olivia, and me. The call was a disaster from the start. Tyler started by yelling at me that because of me, he had lost his whole family. My parents said I needed to help them restore their reputation with the other relatives, that I should send another email saying I had exaggerated everything and that they hadn't done anything wrong. Basically, they wanted me to retract everything and go back to being the obedient son who puts up with everything in silence. I told them very clearly that I wasn't going to do that everything I put in that email was true, that I had witnesses and evidence of everything, and that if they wanted to fix their relationships with the family, they had to start by acknowledging what they did and apologizing, not just to me, but to everyone. My dad started yelling that I was an ungrateful son. Tyler said I had always been a jealous brother who couldn't stand that he was more talented and loved. And my mom just cried, saying I had destroyed the family. Olivia, who had been quiet until that moment, finally spoke and told them very calmly that if they kept harassing us, we were going to take legal action. That shut them up for like 2 seconds before Tyler started laughing, saying we were ridiculous, that we had nothing, that they were family and could contact us whenever they wanted. We hung up the call after that. I thought maybe they would calm down after a few days, but instead things escalated insanely. Like 2 days after that call. At 4 in the morning, 4 in the morning literally, I hear someone banging on my door like crazy and yelling. I got up half asleep. Olivia was terrified, and when I looked out the window it was my parents and Tyler. All 3 of them were in my front yard yelling for me to come out, that they had to talk, that I couldn't hide from them forever. The neighbors started turning on their lights and coming out to see what was happening. Tyler was literally screaming that I was a coward. My dad was pounding on the door so hard I thought he was going to break it. And my mom was crying, saying they just wanted to talk to their son. I called the police immediately because this was completely crazy, and I told Olivia to stay upstairs while I waited for them to arrive. The police arrived in like 10 minutes, but it felt like forever. By that time, several neighbors had come out, and one of them, an older man who lives 2 houses down, was trying to calm down my parents without much success. When the officers arrived, I explained the situation to them, showed them the threatening emails on my phone, and basically asked them to remove them from my property. My parents tried to tell the police they just wanted to talk to their son, that they weren't doing anything wrong, but the officers were pretty clear that it was trespassing and they had to leave, or they were going to be arrested. They finally left, but Tyler yelled at me as he was walking to the car that it wasn't over, that I was going to regret it. That threat was what convinced me I needed to do something more permanent. The next day, I hired a lawyer, explained the whole situation to him, including the emails, the calls, the 4 in the morning visit, everything. He recommended that I file for a restraining order against all 3 of them, and that I document absolutely everything. The process for the restraining order took like 2 weeks. I had to go to court, present evidence, testify about the whole situation. My parents and Tyler also had to be there, and it was uncomfortable on a level I can't even describe. They brought their own lawyer who tried to paint me as the villain, saying I was exaggerating a normal family dispute, that they had never threatened my safety, that they just wanted to reconcile. But we had the emails, the text messages, the police report from that morning, testimonies from neighbors, basically everything. The judge heard both sides and finally granted the police neverteen, restraining order for 2 years. 2 years in which my parents and Tyler can't contact me, can't come near my house or my work, basically have to leave me alone completely. When the judge read his decision, my mom started crying, saying she couldn't believe her own son was doing this to them, and Tyler looked at me with so much hatred that honestly it gave me chills. My dad just left the courtroom without saying anything. It's been like 3 months since all that. Olivia and I finally went on our honeymoon last month to Greece, and it was amazing to be able to disconnect from everything and just enjoy being newlyweds. My cousins have been super supportive. They call me often to see how I'm doing, and several of them still aren't talking to my parents or Tyler, which is their decision, and I respect it completely, even though I never asked them to do that. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing, you know? Like, they're my parents at the end of the day, and part of me feels guilty for having isolated them like that. But then I remember all the times they made me feel invisible, all the times they chose Tyler over me, the fact that they didn't come to my wedding, and I realize I'm not doing anything they didn't do to me first. Only I set clear boundaries and took action when those boundaries were violated. The restraining order expires in 2 years, and honestly, I don't know what's going to happen then. Maybe by that time they will have reflected and understood why things got to this point. Maybe they'll still think I'm the bad guy in the story. Olivia says I should be prepared for any scenario, but that she's going to support me no matter what I decide. And that's enough for now, I guess.